Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today, update number 3, I think, on the try-stacking Gambler or Gambling Legionnaire. And it has been a lot of fun playing this build, but for me, this is now the last update. I've played enough of this build, and I think at the moment that tri-attribute stacking or attribute stacking in general, mostly intelligence stacking, and the Spark Archmage are the two most powerful characters at the moment, but there is other contestants that are also like very strong, but therefore the builds are getting ridiculously expensive. Every single day the prices just ramp up so quickly, and I'm got it to a point where I'm fine with playing the build. I think it's a lot of fun, insane AoE, big explosions and everything, but for like bossing and really like end game content, like let's say T5 Breachstone or T5 Arbiter, I'm nowhere close to that point. Main reasons for that is, for example, the missing Astra Mantis, the missing Ingenuity Belt, maybe some nice Breach Ring, some more stat stacking, and so on and so forth. But here we talk about upgrades worth a couple hundred divines. And this is basically why I decided today, you know what, I enjoyed this character quite a lot. We reached like level 94, but now it is time for me to try out other things before I invest like probably 3-4 days for each individual item to min-max this character. And I think, for me, yeah, I'd have more fun of trying out different builds other than playing one build non-stop, as I explained in previous videos. But today I want to showcase the last iteration of what I'm working here. And I think we're just going to run a T16, let me see, that is actually T17 now with Oasis, or maybe Sulfur Caverns. Do we have any better map here? What about here? Fortress. Fortress should be fine. So, for the map showcase, basically, we're gonna do some nice breaches and some rituals. I basically have skilled both of them to the max, so both of them have now 8 points in there. But still, getting, like, I've never seen an expedition logbook so far, and the simulacrum, the splinters are so little, it's actually absolutely crazy. But I still went back to my good old Shattering Palm, like dashing in, sending this shockwave, and then just let everything explode. I think it's like one of the most beautiful things in this game, basically, right? And as you see already, I am having like some ridiculous AoE already, and this is with about 500 intelligence. And stat stacking, I've seen characters with like 1300 intelligence, and I think you can push it even further, which would mean that you have like 500% increased area of effect or stuff like that. It's absolutely ridiculous on what kind of levels that you can play a build like that. I would love if it would have more movement speed there, but there is like an iteration of the build that is using Tempest Fury. And a lot of people are asking me nowadays, why am I not running Tempest Fury? And the answer is pretty simple. Tempest Fury is like a movement skill, right? And the more attack speed you get, the faster you're moving, right? So it's like a dash forward, basically, kind of ability that yeah, one-shots everything if you have the right amount of gear and setup. But the problem is, I have tested the Tempest Fury version on my current character with like 300 dexterity, and it is too slow for my feelings, basically, because I feel Tempest Fury is like a bit of a shitty skill, in my opinion, just because it's like some stutter stepping, you know, and it's not really fast. It's like a little bit faster than what my movement speed is. So I said, you know what, without Astra Mantis, without getting like at least 500 dexterity or something, I would probably not play Tempest Fury, because at a certain point you get ridiculously fast with Tempest Fury, and I think then it's the right way to play it with Tempest Fury at the end, even with Herald of Ash, with Herald of Ice or Thunder, depending if you want to stick with the attribute helmet or swap out to the 3 dragons, so we can actually now electrocute and freeze and therefore trigger everything, right? So here's a beautiful breach. All I'm usually doing is just holding down my button for the most part, or I wait till some monsters spawn, dash in, and get like one big juicy explosion down just because of the Shattering Palm. And I think this is like the one thing that I'm so missing on this, or to say, Lightning Wave playstyle. And I think you guys agree with that, because the Ice Strike version was basically having like a more how you say, proactive gameplay, you know, charging in, exploding entire screens, and so on and so forth. And I think most of them was just the Herald of Ice and the Shattering Palm combination, and I think it's absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous to just, yeah, jump into a pack and just blow up the entire screen. And obviously, with that amount of intelligence that you can stack on this character, it's getting to complete ridiculous levels, and we talk about like 500-600% increased AoE once you surpass like 1200-1300 intelligence. The support gem with ink AoE and so on and so forth. Your Herald of Ice has like a 6.0 radius or something, explosion radius. It is absolutely crazy. So I would say this character right now is about 85% map clear and like 15% bosses. So I have no problem doing any kind of bosses that I see in the maps, you know, like T16, T17, even Citadel bosses are absolutely no problem. But when we talk about like a tier 5 Arbiter or something, first of all, I'm completely have no experience on those fights, right? And I think I even failed my Breach 3 just because I did not have enough damage to just, you know, kill it before playing mechanics. But, yeah, mechanic-wise, I was not doing good at all, right? So, and I don't really want to waste currency. And at the moment, it's literally the way that I asked a friend of mine to carry me the last couple of, what do you say, the Mists dude and the Breaches, just so I get the skill points so I can actually farm more currency, because I think this is one of the bigger issues in the game right now. Let's say you have a cheap character, like, I don't know, 1-2 Divine's Investment, you're just starting out to do maps, right? And you're not making a lot of currency, because, for example, to make Breaches profitable, you need to kill the Breach Lord. So you found, like, I remember the first Breach Stone, it took me like 3 days to farm or something, right? And then you kill the Breach boss, then you get a couple of points, and then you have more monster density, more splinters drop, more grasping hands, you have chance to have multiple breaches in one map, and it all sums up, and all of a sudden now I can farm like a breach, I don't know, like every 2 hours, so I have a breach ready. And if I sell them for like 2 divines or something, you know, you can make some realistically good currency by just running around, killing monsters, selling the breach stones, selling the citadel fragments, or the King of the Mist that you get from ritual, and so on and so forth. And this is basically what I'm doing right now. I don't care really about bosses. All I'm doing here is just run around and yeah, farm those maps and sell the fragments and whatnot for the breach bosses, right? So let's see if we get something here. I'm missing, I mean, we can reroll. Let me see, skill gem 17, so nothing really too important over here, so we don't need to find the last one. But this is it basically for the map showcase. So, what have I done? And one of the questions that I get the most is, how do I generate power charges? And this is basically the combination of using the Combat Frenzy buff, basically, which gives me basically Frenzy charges when I freeze, electrocute, or pin an enemy not more than once every 1.65 seconds. And then we are using the Resonance Keystone, which says gain power charges instead of frenzy charges. So this basically permanently sustains me power charges, so I can keep up my charge stuff if I need to. But with that amount of clear that I have, it is absolutely crazy. And I use the charge stuff mainly for applying lightning exposure, right? Because the Storm Wave is not hitting that fast. I'm doing like 4 attacks per second if I just hold down the button, right? Which is not slow, but my Ice Strike or Tempest Fury would go for like 10, 12 attacks per second, which is insane for mana consumption. I also don't have the Tempest spell because the Storm Wave is not a strike skill, and so on and so forth, so it's mainly used as a mapping tool. Good, let's talk about the skill tree first. What changes have I done? Not really a lot. As you see from the skill tree, I think I got like 2 or 3 extra levels. I think I have now the Falcon Dive, so I get some extra attack speed. We use here the Timeless Jewel to convert the Keystone to Circle of Teaching, so my strength bonus gives me now Energy Shield instead of life, because I'm running CI. I don't do anything with the strength life bonus, so now I get some extra ES. Then Falcon Technique, Enhanced Reflexes, here those 2 points, even though I'm not using a crit build, but we get Accuracy, Accuracy equals attack speed, and the critical damage doesn't do anything, but it gives 25 Dexterity for very, very few points investment. Then we run the Eternal Youth, so my Life Flask is actually restoring Energy Shield, and I don't have to invest too much into the recharge of energy shield, right? Then we just talked about the resonance keystone. Then we're running CI, means we're completely immune to chaos damage, so I don't need any chaos res. It does not matter what it says over here. So all I need to focus on are my tri-res, and that's about it. Then more intelligence stacking. Here we have the lightning damage per 10 intelligence. So int now gives me flat damage, percent damage, and AoE. And that's why I say priority-wise, intelligence over strength over dex. Kind of. I at the moment have a little bit more dex, but it's not too bad. Like in a perfect case scenario, let's say I have 1,000 intelligence, that I would go for like probably 500 dex, 500 strength, something like in that manner here. Then Mind Over Matter, so all our damage taken before mana, like on mana before life, which basically means now I have like a kind of like a double layer of defense here, where I say like, hey, first my ES depletes, then my mana depletes, and then I would die. So even if my energy shield is completely depleted, I would still have an entire mana pool here to tank damage up. So that's like, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9,000 EHP, and it would go a lot higher once we go higher levels. Another thing that I have changed here, the Everlasting Gaze. The anointment, basically, I'll now have spaghettification, so thanks for the tip here, because I was anointing the insightfulness for the percent increased intelligence, but somebody on the YouTube comment said, yo, go for this node, it is 7% increased attributes, so that is obviously better than 6% intelligence, right? Also a little bit of movement speed, and the minus 13 chaos res doesn't do anything to us because we're running this on CI. Other than that, I don't think a lot has changed at all. The planner is obviously in the description below, as always. Gem-wise, we are using Stormwave with Martial Tempo, Electrocute, Primal Armament, Upheaval, and Rage. Then Shattering Palm with Blind, Cold Mastery, Glaciation, and Execute. Tempest Bell with Overabundance. Then we have Lightning Infusion, Close Combat, and Concentrate Effect. This does not work with the current setup with Stormwave, because I was like playing a lot around with like Ice Strike, then I played a couple of maps with Tempest Strike, then I was trying out Flicker Strike, then I was using like Stormwave again, so like trying out things left and right. That's why I still have like the bell over here. Then we have Charge Staff with Neural Overload, Lightning Exposure, Ice Bite, and Strip Away. Hand of Jayula, we run Temp Chains, Freezing Mark, Conductivity, and the Hate and Curse. And this is basically, wait a sec. Whoa. We are running Double Curse here, okay? So we put those points back. I forgot to skill here Whispers of Doom. God damn it. So then we take this point over here and the last one into movement speed. Let's do it like this. So that's why we are running actually Double Curse. This is like the problem, like I'm playing around with the settings of the build with the tree. Here's some changes, there's some changes, here's some crit, there's some crit, blah blah blah, you know. So this can definitely happen. So now we run a Double Curse setup with Freezing Mark, Temp Chains, and Conductivity. Then Herald of Ice with Long Shot, because in the end of the day the explosion is so big, just a more attack damage, and this is the thing in PoE2, Herald of Ice is an attack, right? Then we have Magnified Effect for even more AoE, Alley Focus, and Cold Pen, Wind Dancer with Wind Wave, Maim, and Pin support, Combat Frenzy with Profusion, and the Grim Feast. In this current setup, I just vowed my own helmet and got 22 Spirit, and that means I can now activate another Herald. If I would get this to perfect to 30 Spirit, because now I have 2 left over, I would go for Clarity somewhere, just to have a little bit better mana sustain. The other version that I was playing is basically with the Black Suncrest for the increased damage, and this basically means I need to skip 1 aura, and to be honest, with that much AoE, I can definitely skip the Herald of Ice over here. Good. Why 3 dragons, you might ask? So I think this is like the AoE, the single target setup, same as the chest. I'm now running a rarity and all res chest, just because mapping, you don't want to play or you don't want to map at all without rarity. This increases your drops drastically, and it does have a DR as far as I know. So I would say about 100-150 rarity you should have if you go mapping just for the Divine Orb drops and so on and so forth, and it should make a vast difference in your currency income. Good. I would play like global defense and increased attributes for bossing, same as the Black Suncrest, because these increased stats basically give you quite a bit of value over here, right? Same as on the chest. But for mapping, I think rarity beats any kind of defense anyways, because we have so much damage and AoE, so we don't rely on having too much attributes or like an insane HP pool, because Grim Feast is basically doubling your ES anyways, right? But what this does is lightning damage from hits contributes to freeze buildup instead of shock, and the cold damage contributes to ignite, and fire damage to shock, right? But the thing is, we are playing here with the electrocute anyways, so here we have our electrocution buildup, and that procs our what do you say, your combat frenzy thingy. And the good thing is you now have like freeze and what is it, electrocute, which are both acting as a stun more or less, right? So that feels insanely well, and this is also the reason why, even though we have like insane amounts of lightning damage and no other damage at all, like let me see, we have fist damage and lightning damage, right? So that's why we can explode things with our lightning wave, because of the freeze buildup over here. And yes, with electrocute we cannot shock, but I'm not investing into shock at all. I think if I would change or need some extra damage, I would rather go here in the electrocution for the 20% increased damage taking. Good, that is that part. Rings, pretty much. Once I had this chest, my resistance were fixed basically, and that's why I could change my rings to some more rarity. As I just said before, I think I'm currently running like about 100 rarity plus 2 rarity charms. So, and I already had like 3 or 4 divine orb drops, and usually I have like 1 every 2 days. So rarity is just king, and you should get a lot of that. And I refused to get it, but now I played a little bit with rarity, and I see definitely the changes in the drops, and now, yeah, kind of the bad feeling that you just have to play rarity if you want to get some form of currency while you're mapping in this game. Other than that, nothing has changed. We still have like the increased damage over here. We have our Hand of Wisdom in action. We have our 3 dragons for mapping and probably for bossing the Black Suncrest. Same here. Global damage, global defense and attributes is now. Wait, I would take attributes and all res. Sorry, this is what I would take. But for mapping, I don't need the attributes, so I go for the rarity part. Rings, as I said, stats, resistance, whatever you need, same on the boots. Belt is still like a budget item, so I would like to have the ingenuity here, and then yeah, get like some sick breach rings with a lot of like rarity and yeah, stats and whatnot. Good. Passive tree wise, as I said, Adorned is was one of the last things that I put in, but this is like one of the cheapest ones, right? I just want to make sure that it's plus 50%. Main reason for that is that I would like to stack things like maximum resistance. And I have here some jewels over here. They give you like 2 max resistance. With a 50% Adorned, it gives you a plus 3, and with a 100% Adorned, it gives you a plus 4. There is no way that I'm gonna get a 100% Adorned, because they usually go for like a mirror or something, right? But the 50% is super cheap with like 5 divines, and therefore this would work. And the next stat that I'm looking for is movement speed, because speed is king, and I know a lot of people are using Tempest Fury for their speed, but I absolutely hate it. I would rather have a character that is super fast, and that's the reason why I went for a 50% Adorn, because then I mean, obviously a 60% is better, because if you have like jewels with a 10 intelligence corruption, it would be 1 extra intelligence, but the 60% is like 12 divines, the 70% is like 20 divines, 80% is like 50 divines, you know, so I don't see a point where I'm getting like 50 divines investment for 10 or 15 extra stats, right? 50% Adorned is fine, so you get the 1 extra max res or the 1 extra movement speed, but that's about it. I wouldn't go further unless you have like a currency tree at home. Who knows? Good, I think we went over the gems, over the skill tree. Let's go over the MTX real quick, because a lot of people are asking that non-stop. I have here the Snowcaller helmet, we have the Immortal Spirit body armor, then we have the Snowcaller gloves, we have the Snowcaller boots, together with the Pitch Black Gargoyle wings. Then we have the Astral Portal effect and the Divergence character effect, and that is pretty much it. I don't know if you can buy these things in the store. These are all MTX that I got from Path of Exile 1. They're now working on PoE 2, at least a few of those, because obviously I have like a freak ton of more MTXs. Like, when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I have 125 social frames, which means supporter packs bought, right? So I don't know when this will ever happen that we're gonna get like all of our skins available, but the ones that we have, I made this transmog and I think it looks pretty good. Good. Further upgrades. How would I imagine my perfect attribute stacker? Well, obviously, I think I would go for an Adorned setup with maximum resistance jewel, because if you get like a good Adorned, let's assume 100% one, you get super easy access to maximum resistance. If you have a lot of currency, that also means you have no problem acquiring a bunch of like sixlings, and that would also mean that I would go for the thaumaturgical infusion, where I get maximum resistance based on the gems that I've socketed in. So max resistance jewels plus that, and I would try to get 90 maximum resistance for even more tankiness. Imagine like all triple LU res 90 and then CI for chaos immunity, you are tanky AF, is at least what I would assume. Then there is a jewel, I think the darkness something, where it converts your jewel points. If I would have that with like percent increased intelligence, percent increased dex, damages extra lightning or cold or something like that, then I would most likely go into these 2 points, so we get like a lot of effect out of that from this point on. Item-wise, you know, corrupted, increased intelligence might be nice on the Black Suncrest. On the chest, as I already said, I would go for mapping, rarity, and probably attributes or something. Or at least all-res. Belt, Ingenuity belt. I mean, no questions asked, because this is like the most broken belt in the game. Then insane, like I would try to get like an insane breach ring, quality it up, and then buy a Calandra's touch to mirror the other ring, and this one gets then influenced by the belt, which is kind of insane. So this would be like this kind of combo. Amulet, I mean, Astramentis, there are no questions, right? For the Hands of Wisdom in action, I would go for a corrupted one with 1 to 12 lightning damage, and there is sometimes even double corrupted ones that have 1 to 12 lightning damage and 4% increased attack speed. Here in the pillar, I think there is like 2 different ones that you can get. One is like the 12% increased weapon damage, or you get the 8% increased attack speed corruption and throw 2 more attack speed runes in there, so your attacks per second on your base Pillar of the Cage God is like 164, and this is then your base calculation for all the attack speed. And then I would probably go for maybe something like this node over here with the finesse, increased like gain accuracy rating equal to intelligence, which should boost up your Falcon Dive quite a bit. And then I would try to go for like probably 800 Dexterity, you know, with Tempest Flurry or something. Should be insanely fast. Boots, I would just go for 35 movement speed, intelligence, rarity. Rarity is skin. That's like the thing, right? And here I'm having like 3 Grand Spectrum jewels, right? I would try to get corrupted ones with 5%, so that would be 45 all-res plus a 5 link chest, more or less, with rarity, or at least all-res soul cores. So that would give me 75 all-res plus 45 from these jewels. So I think with those you can probably get res kept alone, so that means you can spend even more stats on your other items where you just don't need to get res on it, you know. So I would say the perfect item is always like rarity, mana, and as many stats as you can get. So if we can fix our res with 2 items, or at least jewels and 1 item, and maybe even with the 3 dragons here that gets up to like 20 resistance, then you should be fine on that part. So, what else can I talk about this build? Nothing too much, besides the fact that items are insanely expensive. But therefore, I want to go for something maybe a little bit more budget this time around. I don't know how much currency I can acquire, I don't even know, but we could probably gamble real quick. Wait a second. I have a feeling about an Astramentis popping out right here, right there. We go for the Chance Orb. We pay with Exalts. Okay, you guys ready for the Astramentis? Okay, watch this, watch this, watch this. Anyways. Oh, my cat just jumped up because I slammed the door. Sorry, cat. Sorry. Alright, guys. Great build. Can definitely recommend if you have some more budget. And no, do not start this build without the gloves, because this is basically where your damage comes from. You get intelligence, you get flat damage over here, you get percent damage over here, you get AoE from here. You don't need a multi-corrupted Pillar of the Cage God, and I think the classic one goes for like 1 Exalt or something. The gloves cost like 10 Divines by now, so at least I would say have like 15-20 Divines. Do yourself a favor, 15 to 20 Divines, and before you start the build like that, because it is a stat stacker. It is extremely bad in the start, but it has endless scaling, and the further you go, the more insane it's going to get. Kind of. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.